Hello, everyone. Today I want to talk about kinkeeping. This is a concept that went viral on social media a couple years ago. Last year, the New York Times profiled a woman whose TikTok went viral, expressing this term, and it only recently came into my personal vernacular. I saw this note by Hannah Spear, who writes Psychobabble on Substack, and she's writing about this concept of kinkeeping, and she references the TikTok video, which we'll watch in a second. But it's the whole idea of kinkeeping is this idea that like women are the ones who bear an invisible and emotional burden and the labor of keeping families together. So it's not just like their day-to-day, nuclear family, husband, kids, whatever. It's also the in-laws, extended family, community engagements, play dates with other families, all that kind of stuff. So all of that burden falls onto the responsibility of women. But I really like how Hannah talks about this because she says that the story that the woman shares in her TikTok illustrates how modern feminism works. It starts with an observation: women tend to organize family gatherings more often than men, and then it takes a leak. Therefore, women are oppressed by this imbalance. So she's diving into like how feminist ideas disseminate into culture and how they have proliferated and metastasized. So you have this idea that, or just an observation, that women organize family gatherings, and this has been going on for millennia. I mean, you just look across civilizations and across history. Women are the focal point of communities, not just their families, but also communities. And so women play a tremendously important role in society, and the way feminism has shaped it, it's made women feel like the role they're supposed to play and that they're called to play is a burden. It's something they should be ashamed of. So she goes on to say the framework assumes family life is a zero-sum game. The more a woman gives, the more a man must be taking. It ignores preference, temperament, and biology. It certainly ignores men's own silent burdens, the financial provision, physical labor, and emotional responsibility that rarely gets hashtags or gratitude posts. It's absolutely true. Something I was thinking about, so it's like, okay, so yeah, sure, maybe mom is the one who coordinates doctor's appointments and play dates, all that kind of stuff. Dad is doing similar things that aren't being acknowledged. Dad is the one who makes sure, the oil is changed in the cars and they're running and they have air in the tires and, probably going to make sure everything, gas is filled and all that kind of stuff. Like dad is usually the one maintaining the house, taking care of all the maintenance tasks, mowing the lawn, cutting down trees, climbing up to the roof to clean the gutters. Dad is the one who's probably going to be volunteering as a coach for a little league baseball team or a softball league. Like dad plays an important role too, but just because the role dads play aren't acknowledged, they become invisible to feminist women. They only see what they want to see, and they only see it through a lens of oppression. She goes on to say, and when the roles reverse, when men do the school runs or cook dinner, there's no catchy term for that. Feminism has no language for male sacrifice. Every female trait must be either rebellion or wound. So empathy becomes emotional labor, nurture becomes mental load, and now sociability becomes kinkeeping. And this is exactly, the language around womanhood has changed such that everything women do is now a burden, and it's like taking something away from them. It's not, and that's like the problem with it. It's not like reflective of the fact that, nurturing it is an inherent trait of women, or that, maybe a lot of women do enjoy planning social events. I mean, every feminist favorite movie, Legally Blonde with Elle Woods, right? Like, Elle Woods prided herself for being the social coordinator of her sorority. Like, the women love to do these kinds of things. Women love to put events together, host people, cook meals. So it's not a sacrifice for a lot of women. It's not a burden. But when feminists frame it that way, it kind of shames women. And I definitely felt this way personally with cooking. I love to cook. And I've always, not always, but like there was a period of time where I felt a lingering shame that I shouldn't aspire to cook and do like domestic labor because it was beneath me, right? And that was kind of in my career days in Washington, D.C. There was just this culture where, you weren't supposed to espouse to do traditional female things. You had to be a girl boss and climb the career ladder. And I always felt really conflicted about that because I loved to cook and I felt ashamed of loving to cook because feminists didn't approve of that. And so that's happening. It's happening. Young women, like you'll see in a moment, are ingesting all of these ideas and they are disseminating them throughout culture, and it's changing how we perceive womanhood. So she makes a claim here, which I think is true. Professors know exactly what they're doing. They're creating activists, and so they're giving a vocabulary to women who are already simmering with resentment. So kinkeeping is clever marketing. It's a rebrand of womanhood's oldest virtues as evidence of victimhood. It teaches women to see generosity as exploitation, love as unfair labor, and that's what all this is about. Like, coordinating like family events, buying gifts for someone, cooking dinner, those are all acts of love, acts of service. And that's the real problem with feminism, is it replaces service towards others and love for others with service towards self and love towards self. It's a very narcissistic, self-centered ideology, and that's the problem with it, is you're doing it for your own, for yourself, for your own benefit. It's all about you, me. It has nothing to do with other people around you, and so it's very self-absorbed. Whereas I think most average women would tell you, like, doing certain things aren't a burden because you're doing it out of love. And that's what's being taken from this whole equation, this idea of love, which is essential and paramount to what it means to be human. Like, you get rid of love and, like, what are we doing here? That's what humanity and existence and our purpose, like, it boils down to. Loving others, respecting others, treating others kindly, whether it's your family, whether it's your neighbors, whether it's other people in your community. Like, that's what we're all like supposed to do, is we're supposed to love one another. And when we can't do that, it sows the seeds of conflict, which is what we're seeing now. So I think she really encapsulates in this note here how feminists, specifically in academia, have created a vocabulary to rip the things that women hold dear and cherish, and the things that give women purpose and meaning, and transforms them into burdens and things that they're supposed to resist and rebel against. And it transforms women's relationships from one of love and service towards others towards one in love and service towards self. So let's dive in to the actual video. This was posted by some random girl in I think North Dakota back in 2022, but this is what kicked it all off. And you'll hear in the beginning, she learned this from her gender studies class.
I learned from my women and gender studies class that is on my mind 24/7. It's kinkeeping. Kinkeeping is the root of stress in most women's lives, and because they don't know the name for it, they're often called irrational. So I'm gonna give you a little analogy before I explain what it is. Imagine there's a theater and they want to put on a play. They're going to hire not only actors and actresses, but they're going to hire costume designers, people to move the furniture in between scenes, people to move the curtains, people to sell the tickets, to advertise for the show, to show the lights and do the spotlights correctly, people to have the microphones, ushers to have everyone sit in the right spots. There's a lot of effort and time and energy that goes into a play, but at the end of the day, when the play is done, people are not clapping for everything that they did not see. They're clapping for the actors and actresses that they witnessed. In this analogy, the men are the actors and actresses, and the women are the people who go unseen. During the holidays, there's a lot of cooking and cleaning and planning and organizing and wrapping of paper and remembering of dates, but a lot of it goes unnoticed because the whole role of this job is to be invisible and to perform convenience for everyone, to put on a show. You may notice during the holidays there's a lot of women in your kitchen, bonding, talking, but they're also doing work. And it's not only your mom, it's your...
So this is a big problem, is framing acts of love and acts of service as work. Like, yeah, you're doing something, sure, but it's not necessarily an act of work. Like, I could make the same case about running marathons. I run marathons. I love running. Like, there is a degree of work to it. Like, I have to do physical, like, fitness-related work. I don't see it as work, and therefore I don't see it as something that is unpaid, and I don't see it as a burden. Like, it's a thing I do. It's a thing I love to do. And I feel like taking care of my body is a responsibility. So this is part of the problem. It's framing every single thing you do in your day-to-day life as an economic activity that has to be compensated. And not everything is an economic activity. Like, cooking in your kitchen and preparing a meal for family during the holidays is not an economic activity. That is the whole essence of the holidays. If you get rid of the family convening together and sharing a meal, what are you doing? What are you celebrating? What is there to do? There's absolutely nothing. If you get rid of the wrapping of gifts and the gift giving, again, what are you doing? Like, you might as well not celebrate the holiday at all. So not all like tasks are acts of work, and not everything needs to be financially compensated for it as if it were an act of work.
Aunts, your grandma, it's everyone, and they just subconsciously know that your mom needs help, and they create a bonding experience out of it, and that's fine. But if you look at the men, they're sitting at the table talking and laughing and telling stories, relaxing with their feet up, not knowing what time anything starts. You might notice on a road trip, your mom's wondering, did everything get packed? Where is everybody? Has everyone...
Okay, I just want to make a comment about how she's like complaining about the men with their feet up. I don't think a lot of people realize it. I think there's just this assumption that men don't work at all, they don't do anything, and that their days are filled with luxury or leisure. And that's kind of what this gets at. It's like all women do is work, and it's burdensome, and the assumption must be, okay, well, if women are doing things that are so burdensome, men clearly aren't bearing an equitable burden, and they aren't working. And I think what people don't realize is the vast majority of men in this country are probably working 6 to 7 days a week. Many of them are also probably working overtime. They're probably working in physical labor jobs, so they're on their feet constantly, and they don't get unlimited PTO or 12 days of paid vacation off, every year. I think my husband's work, he gets maybe, I think, 3 holidays per year, holidays off. So for him, like during the holidays, like that's a time for him to rest and do things he loves to do, because he doesn't get a holiday every single month. I mean, I don't think white collar people realize how privileged they are. And like, especially academics who you only work 2 semesters a year. Maybe you might, do administrative stuff over the summer. Maybe you might teach a summer course. But really, like, compared to a lot of folks in this country, especially men, like, I'm sorry, but like academic professors aren't really working that hard. Or if anything, like, they're able to complement their teaching time with, research time and things they enjoy. And they've taken academia as a way to like, do something that they enjoy. It's not all hard work, I would say, as other jobs. And so there's this skewed perception that because these people, they get 2 weeks off between like Christmas. You get college students get a week off at Thanksgiving. You get 2 weeks off between the fall and the spring semester, so Christmas and New Year's. You get a week off for spring break. You get your summers off, right? And then once you're in the corporate world, you're gonna get Martin Luther King Day off in January. You get President's Weekend off in February. Some places give Easter, not all of them, but there's religious accommodations for that if you celebrate. You're going to get Memorial Day weekend off. Now, Juneteenth is a holiday, so you get that off. You get 4th of July off. You get Labor Day off. We just celebrated Columbus Day, so you got Columbus Day off. You're going to get Thanksgiving off next month, and then obviously Christmas the following month. So out of the entire year, I think there's like 1 or 2 months there where there isn't a holiday. But for the most part, like, white collar workers in this country have at least one long weekend per month, right? And so there are large swaths of men in this country who don't get that, whose only time off literally is Thanksgiving and Christmas. So to shame them for like taking the day off, like it ignores and it makes their labor invisible. So she's here complaining about women having invisible labor. Like, their labor is invisible. They can't celebrate the only 2 holidays they get off in the whole year. And for them to like put up their feet and rest, like that is something they should be ashamed of, because apparently, according to feminists, men don't work, and it's just like their entirety of their days is leisure. When if any woman like this wanted to go shadow like a union worker, or a guy working overtime, I would love to see what their take and see what they come away with, because I think they'll realize a lot of men in this country are putting in a lot more work than they get credit for, and then women like this exist in positions of privilege, and they have privileges that they don't acknowledge or recognize, and they complain about it.
When eaten, what time are we getting there? When are we supposed to get there? What was I supposed to bring? And you might notice your dad saying, calm down, why are you being so irrational? Everything's gonna be fine. Stop worrying so much. And it pains me to see this, because this man doesn't see all the work that your mother has done, because it doesn't have a name. He doesn't know the name. He doesn't know any of the work she's done. Kinkeeping. It's the unpaid labor that women are assigned to subconsciously as a gender. And not only does this cause a lot of stress in women's lives, but it also breeds a lot of ignorance in men. Did your dad plan that vacation? Did he even get the presents underneath the tree that say "from dad" on them? Does he know when your dentist appointment is? Does he know what size pants you wear? If not, who did that? And who took credit? Let me know if you want a part 2. If there is one thing that I learned from
again, you can say the same thing. Yeah, your dad might not know when your dentist appointment is, but do you know when your oil is due to be changed in your car? Probably not. Do you know when like baseball signups are? Probably not. So yeah, I mean, there's tasks fathers and men do that go completely ignored and unacknowledged by feminist women, and then of course the professor class teaches this to the young ones, and then Gen Zers like this go and disseminate this onto social media, and then it gains traction, and then ends up in the New York Times and other media outlets a little later on. So I want to dive into this is NPR. This is the NPR affiliate in Minnesota. But I want to pull this up because it highlighted the student and the professor. So her name is Molly, and she's a professor of Erin Fawcett, who is a professor. She's referred to here as a professor of women and gender studies at Minnesota State University, Moorhead. And so I Googled her. I tried to find a teacher profile page, and she doesn't have one. And I think the reason is because she's not actually a professor. You have to have a PhD to be a professor. And according to her LinkedIn, she only has a master's degree. And so she has been a lecturer in the women's studies department. But really, she's the coordinator of the gender and sexuality program at Moorhead, Minnesota State Moorhead, and then she's also like part of the Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Office. So why I bring this up is because I think there's this assumption that it's professors and academics who are the ones who are indoctrinating young people. And that is clearly not the case here. This is an administrator who has been given teaching privileges, but who isn't a tenured professor at this university. So I looked for her teacher page, because usually professors will have like a teaching page. It'll say what classes they teach, their CV, and then you can pull up their any sort of papers they've submitted to academic journals, so you can see like, is this something she's an expert in? And it's not. So for all intents and purposes, this Erin Fawcett woman taught a class, possibly not even credentialed to teach that class, introduced an idea to this student, Molly, who shared it on TikTok, ended up going viral. It got picked up in a couple of media outlets, and now it's something that, anti-feminists like Hannah Spear are commenting about, because this has gained traction in the culture. And so these are how ideas are spreading from universities. They're not just coming from university professors. While professors are certainly playing a key role, it's not just university professors. It's administrators. It's people in uncredentialed quasi-teaching positions. So in this case, a lecturer, maybe a tutor, maybe an administrator in a diversity, equity, inclusion office, someone who has close proximity to students who believe certain things and instill those beliefs on them, but they're not actually part of the curriculum or the academic requirements of that of whatever program they're in. So I think that's really important to pay attention to. I want to close by diving into how kinkeeping has been disseminated into the wider culture. This is an article that was published in Oprah Daily. This was after the New York Times piece went viral in 2024. But it's just this whole concept of kinkeeping. And according to Oprah Daily, a kinkeeper is someone who plans all sorts of different family activities, or the person who makes sure everyone else revels in the holiday season. So this is what this is specifically focused on, is around the holidays. It's the process of strengthening, developing, and maintaining family relationships and bonds. This is coming from a licensed clinical psychologist. She says it's the scaffolding that supports the family. So right here, you can see the connection between ideas that are incubated within academia, spread through culture, through the student population that learns these ideas, and then disseminated across the wider population in media outlets like this. But you can see she's a licensed clinical psychologist. So someone like her, she might be seeing patients, she might be, acting as a therapist. And so there's a connection here between therapy culture and the feminist culture that is incubating ideas on college campuses. It's kind of like a feedback loop. Like you are told something, you're given a vocabulary and a framework to see something in your life as a burden. You begin to see it as the cause of all the problems in your life, and then you go out, seek out therapy, and that therapist reinforces what you're being told. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Hannah Spear she's a psychiatrist, exactly. So she's someone who's pushing back on this. But there is a link between what is happening in terms of feminist ideology and the affirmation of it from a trusted a therapist and someone who's in a trusted advisory position within someone's life. It says kinkeeping isn't just about holiday rituals. It includes daily to-dos like planning playdates or comforting a child, and weightier tasks like managing family medical histories and keeping peace during drama. It usually falls to the woman in the family, be it a mother, grandmother, aunt, or older sister. Because much of it happens behind the scenes, kinkeeping is a form of invisible labor. Again, this doesn't seem like invisible labor. Like if you're a mother, this kind of seems like your role in the family. Like both mothers and fathers have roles to play, and they're different roles. They're opposite but equal. Like you have an equal role to play, and raising children and nurturing your relationship and your marriage. And so it's not like, again, it's not like a zero-sum game. It's not like only the women in a relationship are the ones who are bearing burdens and responsibilities. Like there are things men do too, and because that's not being talked about, there's no vocabulary or acknowledgement for men. It's their labor that is quite literally invisible, not women's. It says, if you are the kinkeeper in your family, let people know if you're feeling overwhelmed. You don't have to do everything for everyone. Delegate based on interests and preferences to make the work feel less of a strain. And this kind of gets to like my biggest critique of all of this. It's that a lot of like the activities you do for your family are a choice. Like you can choose how big or how much of a celebration you're going to have during the holidays. You can choose how many extracurricular activities your kids are enrolled in. You can choose how many pieces of clothing they have in their closet, and thus how much laundry you'll have to do on a daily basis. You can choose the type of meals you cook and how long you're going to end up spending preparing those meals in the kitchen. You can do things to front end some of the stuff and to mitigate some of these issues. Like there's no reason why in 2025 with so much technology that you have to just remember all of these things all the time. You can create a shared family calendar. You can make sure like if you don't trust your husband, like set up the alerts on his phone so he can stay on top of things and be notified, so he's never going to have to forget. Like there are things you can do to mitigate some of this stuff. I mean, it's just a funny anecdote, but my dad retired at the beginning of the summer, and so my mom was making him a list of things to do at the house. So I showed her how to create a Google Keep to-do list, because they both have Google phones. So a shared to-do list. So every time she adds something, like, it shows up on my dad's phone, and when he completes something, it shows up as complete on my mom's phone, so they can keep track of who's doing what and what's getting accomplished. It's quite marvelous what modern technology can do. But yeah, like, you can create digital chore charts and meal plans, and like, I do this with Notion, and map everything onto a calendar. You always know what you have to do. I mean, with where AI is going, you can use it as a personal assistant, and once agentic AI really becomes more of a thing, like, you can effectively train an AI to become the personal assistant for your family. So you never have to like, you won't have to think about these things anymore. Like, you could program it. You could say, here's what my mother-in-law likes. Here's her birthday. Remind me, 2 weeks before her birthday to send her a gift. And the agentic AI will be like, hey, it's 2 weeks out before your mother-in-law's birthday. Based on what you told me about her, here are a couple gifts I think she might like. You can have it buy it for you, have it send it to her, and then you don't have to do anything. Like, that's where we're heading. So the fact that women still want to be like cast as victims for the honor and the responsibility of being a mother, and then call the tasks they have to do as part of that responsibility as a burden. I mean, a lot of that is now largely becoming a choice. I think if women started seeing themselves as the CEO of their households and began treating their job as a wife and a mother like a CEO, I think they would be inclined to set up systems and processes to mitigate some of this. And, you don't hear about executives at top companies complaining about the mental load. I'm sure, Elon Musk is probably putting out fires all day, every day. You don't see him complaining about, his HR people not doing this or having to remember that. Like, he's delegated and has systems in place. That's why he's able to do what he does. So this reads to me like a lot of women are really bad at managing and delegating, and that rather than taking responsibility and like challenging themselves to become better at their role, they would prefer to put the blame on someone else, and that someone else typically is men. And so that's kind of how I see this playing out. I think that's what that is. But kind of like what Hannah Spear had said in this note, which I think is really important at the end. It teaches women, all this teaches women to see generosity as exploitation and love as unfair labor. So it really reframes our relationships with ourselves, with our spouses, with our children, and with our extended families and our communities. And I think that is a detriment of society. So if we want to strengthen families, we need to root out this language. We need to stop looking at day-to-day life as a burden and see it as the joy that it is, and see that find joy in the minutia, find joy in the little things, cooking and family celebrations, like not seeing everything as a burden, everything that is work, everything that must be compensated for, and if it's not, it must be some form of exploitation. I think we have to root out that kind of logic and really nip it in the bud, because I don't think it's doing any benefit to society. So that's what I have for you. I'd be curious to know if you had heard this term before. Like I said, it's a couple years old, but this is the first time I had heard it. I'd be curious to know if you've heard of kinkeeping. And if you're a father or a husband who is watching this, I would love to know, like, what are some things you do that you would think that would be considered invisible to feminists? Things, whether it's volunteering or coaching Little League, or like I said, like changing the oil on your car. Like, what are like the little tasks you do on a daily basis or throughout the year that goes largely unacknowledged by feminists that you wish feminists saw and took note of? I would love to hear your thoughts on that. I appreciate you for watching this. Thank you so much. If you enjoy this content, I would love it if you would like and subscribe. Share this with anyone in your network who you think could benefit from it, and I'll see you in the next video.